NBA draft scenarios you didn't know are possible. It's raining, so if you hear that, that's what that is. Let's get into it.
A couple years ago, the NBA decided to switch the draft lottery odds, drastically changing the effectiveness of tanking and creating a ton of crazy scenarios, especially this season. So today, I want to talk about it. If you guys like the video, smash that like button. And my stats are telling me that well over 50% of y'all
in the description down below
that have been watching the videos recently still aren't subscribed. We've got a ton of content coming out. Smash that sub button and let's get into this. A year ago, it was a weird feeling to have the Golden State Warriors, the dominant team of the decade, be one of the worst teams in the league and eventually land a top pick in the draft. It feels even weirder for them to have another shot at holding a top pick, possibly multiple. Their draft scenarios are just crazy when you consider everything that's going on with this roster. Right now, Curry is on one of the craziest runs we've ever seen. In the last 13 games, he's averaging 38 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 50.
Oh, that's so insane. He's averaging more rebounds than assists.
53% from the field and 48% from 3 on 14 attempts. 53% from the field and 48% from 3 on 14 attempts a game. Absolutely insane. He has made it very clear he isn't regressing anytime soon. There were a lot of concerns for Andrew Wiggins coming to the Warriors, and for the most part, he's alleviated most every concern, and going forward, he's really going to be looked at as a valuable piece for this team rather than a liability. He has shown improvement on the defensive end while averaging 18 points on career-high efficiency, including 38% from 3. With them playing at this level, there's going to be a lot of excitement going into next year with the return of Klay Thompson. He's going to be coming off back-to-back years of injury, but if he returns even close to his former self, with what we've seen from Curry recently, this team is going to be as scary as ever. 2 years ago, he was averaging 21 points, shooting over 40% from 3, while being one of the top perimeter defenders in the league. Their top pick this season, James Wiseman, went down with a season-ending injury, but beforehand, while he might not have been creating the excitement like LaMelo or Tyrese Halliburton, he really looked like a solid piece for them going forward, and the reports have come out that they expect him to be ready for next season. They still have Draymond Green and solid young guys like Jordan Poole and Eric Pascal. So given how different the roster will be next season than it is today, their possible scenarios in the draft are crazy. Right now, their main assets in this upcoming draft is their personal first-round selection, which would be going to the Thunder if it's outside the top 20, but that definitely is just not going to happen. And through the trade that sent D'Angelo Russell to the Timberwolves and brought Andrew Wiggins to Golden State, they acquired the Timberwolves' first-round pick this season, but it is top 3 protected. The Warriors' personal pick currently sits with the 13th best odds at the number 1 selection. The Warriors still have a chance to sneak into the playoffs. That would obviously really limit their crazy possibilities, but assuming they stay where they are, they have a 1% chance at landing the top pick and a 4.8% chance at a top 4 selection. The Timberwolves currently sit with the 3rd worst record in the league. If they stay exactly where they're projected currently, or land an even better selection, they're going to hold on to it. But currently, there's just over a 50% chance that they don't get a top 3 pick, a scenario where they would be sending that selection to the Warriors. So we could be looking at a situation, while very unlikely, not impossible, that the Warriors land the number 1 pick with their personal selection and the 4th overall pick via the Timberwolves. Just think about how crazy that would be. If they made both selections, we could see them grab Cade Cunningham at 1, and then guys like Jalen Green or Jonathan Kuminga at 4. So they would still have the Splash Brothers on their roster while having one of the top young cores in the league. We could see them draft Cade at 1 and trade number 4. I know it sounds crazy to think about, but we've seen a lot of teams throughout history land top picks coming from the
like the Pelicans last year or 2019.
Bottom of the lottery, and that was before these new odds. This draft lottery is going to be fun, but the Warriors aren't the only team with some very interesting scenarios. The Oklahoma City Thunder, my personal favorite team, is in the middle of what appears to be one of the shortest and most effective rebuilds we've ever seen. They've got one of the best young players in the league in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. In just his 3rd season, he's averaging 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 51% from the field, 42% from 3, and over 80% from the line. Incredible. And there's no reason to believe he's not going to be a top player in the league 5 years from now. So just having him makes their future very bright. But as we talked about in recent videos, their exciting young core doesn't stop there. Whether it's their 3-and-D machine Luke Dort, offensive rebound beast Moses Brown, real-life unicorn Poku, steal of the draft Theo, lights-out shooting Ty Jerome, crazy potential Darius Bazley. This team has a lot to get excited about as it sits right now. Now obviously I'm very biased, but still. With SGA dealing with recent injuries, the Thunder have been pulling off quite the tank. They've got the worst record in the league for the last 20 or so games. Right now they sit with the 5th best odds at the number 1 selection, but are just 2 games shy of the 3rd worst record and 3 of the 2nd worst record. It's very unlikely they catch the Rockets in record, but there's a very real chance that they can jump to top 3 odds via their personal selection. But it doesn't stop there. Through the Russell Westbrook trade, the Thunder are going to get the 2 most favorable selections out of their 1st round pick, Miami's 1st round pick, and the Rockets' 1st round pick, but that one's top 4 protected. I know that sounds kind of confusing, but this is how it's looking right now. If the Rockets have a top 4 selection, the Thunder will get their pick and Miami's pick, which is currently projected at 17. If the Rockets fall to the top 4, similar to the Timberwolves, around a 48% chance of this happening, the Thunder will get the Rockets pick and their pick. Now the scenario with the Warriors, while fun to think about,
it's like a swamp, Worcester swamp.
Given how soon they could be back to contending for a title, is very unlikely, given they're at the bottom of the lottery with their personal selection. This one has a very real chance of happening. It really wouldn't be surprising at all for the Thunder to hold 2 top 5 selections. The best case scenario being the number 1 pick via their selection and the 5th overall pick coming from the Rockets. Man, SGA and Cade Cunningham, that would be fun, and honestly a perfect fit. It's unclear what position Cade will settle at in the NBA. If it's the point guard position, SGA's already proven his flexibility alongside Chris Paul. Then they grab Kuminga at 5 and go forward with Cade, SGA, Kuminga, Poku, Moses Brown, and still have Dort, Bazley, and Theo, and all the draft picks that have been well reported. That's obviously the best case scenario for the Thunder when it comes to the lottery, but even if the Rockets land a top 4 selection, the Thunder are still going to be looking pretty good. In that scenario, they'd probably have something like the 5th overall pick and the 17th overall pick with more than enough firepower to move up if they please. That's the scenario that makes this next team so interesting, the New Orleans Pelicans. We didn't really get to see the Pelicans take the jump I think a lot of people were expecting and are most likely going to hold a lottery selection in this draft. Right now they're projected to have the 11th best odds, giving them a 2.5% chance at the number 1 selection and an 11.7% chance at a top 4 spot. The luck of the lottery was on their side when they landed Zion Williamson 2 years ago. Just imagine if this happens again, adding Cade Cunningham to what is already a stacked young core, featuring the likes of Zion, Ingram, and Lonzo. With how the lottery works, if they're moving up in this draft, they're moving into the top 4. We won't see them in the mid-lottery, but most any top 4 pick, whether that's Suggs, Jalen Green, or even Evan Mobley, would really make this team scary. What's so interesting though about the Pelicans is that despite having one of the best young cores in the league, they still have a ton of draft assets that they're ready to dish out, whether that's to move up in this draft for a player like Cunningham, or make a blockbuster trade for a veteran that really allows them to take the next jump. Then we've got the Orlando Magic, who are in a similar situation to the Thunder and Warriors, depending on what happens in the lottery. Based on what we've seen from the Bulls since the Vucevic trade, they might emerge as massive winners. I was really excited for them when they traded away Vucevic, as given their market and the fact that they're probably one of the least attractive free agency destinations, I thought they needed to go into a full-on rebuild. On top of getting Wendell Carter, who's looked great since the trade, they own the Bulls' 2023 first round selection, top 3 protected, as well as their first round selection this season, again top 3 protected. A lot of people thought the Bulls might make a push for the playoffs after the deadline, really decreasing the value of that selection, but since have been really disappointing, putting the Magic in great position going into the draft lottery, because well, they've been pretty terrible themselves. Right now the Magic have the 2nd worst record in the league, giving them a 14% chance at the number 1 pick and almost guaranteeing them a top selection. The Chicago Bulls currently sit with the 8th best odds, so projections say that the Magic should be getting around the 2nd and 8th pick in the draft, the best case scenario being the 1st overall and 4th overall pick. This team is going to be very fun to pay attention to with these top picks coming in and the return of both Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac next season. So to get an idea of just how crazy the draft could be, the Warriors could hold the 1st and 4th picks, the Thunder could hold the 2nd and 5th picks, and the Magic hold the 3rd and 6th. Crazy to think about. Lastly, we've got an honorable mention, and that's the Toronto Raptors. There's a lot of teams that interest me when it comes to jumping up in the draft, but I'm not sure anyone interests me more than Toronto. The foundation is there. They just won an NBA championship a few seasons ago. Obviously, their roster looked a lot different, but with them having guys...
That's true. They didn't have Kawhi, but that's going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.